Talking this morning to Terrie Anne Hoops, an educator at Lyman Moore Middle School. So, Terrie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a foreign language teacher here at Lyman Moore Middle School, and I also teach IELD, which is the Intensive English Language Development Program, which is for people who come to this country who've been in the country less than 2 years and are not native English speakers. So it's an intensive ELL program.
Mm-hmm. And have you been here a long time?
Yes, I have been here for 3 years. And before that, I worked for migrant education with the state of Maine. And I worked with migrant workers in the field developing English as a second language programs and to assist migrant workers on how to achieve their GED so they can graduate from high school and hopefully receive better jobs.
So is this always what you've done as a career?
No. I was a professional ski racer, and I also have my own ski business. I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology, a master's in administration and leadership, and a CAS degree, which is a curriculum instruction and assessment degree. And I'm from Montreal, Quebec, so I'm a native French speaker, and I used to go to high school in Mexico, so I'm practically a native Spanish speaker, and I love bringing the enjoyment of language and culture to students here at Lyman Moore.
So the question I'm going to ask you, with a little bit of that background, is what drives you, or what drove you to end up in this profession?
I guess I've always been passionate about having kids become world citizens. And to me, foreign language or learning a second language is a way to do that. It's a way to connect to language, culture, and those are connections to the world. And I hope, like in my classes, I always want kids to feel like they never dreamt of traveling somewhere. They never dreamt that they could be in a job where it would require a second or a third language. And I want to bring that to them and have them realize that those are real possibilities and to have kids become fluent in a language. I'm really passionate about studying language and culture. I'm an anthropologist. My first degree was in anthropology. And I used to work for the Peace Corps and Amnesty International. So, I have all these rich experiences working, all over the world. I worked in China and Turkey, and I worked in Grenada, and from these experiences, I really want kids to be able to have the exposure to the same stuff, and languages are the key to that.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you today was because you seem to have embraced something fairly recently in your classroom environment. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Sure. My classroom environment, what I was looking for is enhanced student engagement. How can I get kids engaged in their learning 100% of the time? And technology is what did that. And I feel that by embracing technology, especially with Web 2.0 and all the technology tools out there, that kids are really engaged in their learning, especially in a foreign language class where they're actually using their language. They're using their second language and they're actually producing something that is showing them their acquired language. Because in foreign language, we learn by speaking and we learn by using the language. And we're doing that using technology in our classroom.
Have you always been using technology in your classroom?
Well, I've always liked doing technology projects. So, for example, I started off by, doing keynotes. So they would do a keynote presentation on a country. But now I've gone to, well, they could do a keynote presentation on this country, but could they follow this country in the news on Twitter? Because could they look, not just researching on the internet, but how can they dive into the culture more or to find out things about the culture? Are there podcasts out there? Are there wikis out there? Are there blogs? So by using all of these tools, students get a richer experience, so to speak. And they're using this technology. So I guess I started at, yes, I used Keynote, and that was great, and I used the internet. But there's just so much more available out there that, challenge kids on different levels. But at the same time, we're preparing them for a global economic community, and we're teaching them how to use these tools and how to use them responsibly, which brings me to digital citizenship. I feel in my class I used to use technology and, as I said, like teach Keynote or teach them how to use NoteShare. But we never taught kids how to be responsible digital citizenships by teaching them what a digital footprint is and teaching them how to be responsible citizens. And if we do that, then we're setting them up for success in their future. So,
was there any particular moment that just kind of made this an aha moment or something that made it pop?
Well, there was lots of things that was an aha moment or made it pop. I was involved in a PLN, a professional learning network, and we were using Twitter for that. And I used to think that Twitter was something like Facebook, that you got on there to chat. And so I wasn't really interested in it until I saw what it could actually do for reading the news, following news events as they're happening. You can read things that are trending through hashtags on Twitter, which are happening in the moment. Now, what more do we want for our kids but to have them have that experience, to have them connect to the world live as things are happening? So in this professional learning network that I've been involved in, Twitter was a way that you could read feedback, that you could follow the class, other PLN members through hashtags, but at the same time you could share, news from all over the world. And so I gained so much more of a perspective in my professional reading just from using Twitter. So I feel like Twitter was a big jump for me. I feel a tool like NoteShare was a big jump for me because that had the ability to use oral language, so students were able to record what they wanted. So they had to write a script, do recordings, and then they could go in and make grammatical corrections in that. So they were reflective of their practice. They had metacognition in what they were doing and ownership of that while using technology. So the aha moment for me wasn't, let's do a project and add technology. Technology is part of the process. It's part of the process, and it's part of the project and what we're doing. So they're not two separate entities. We don't add it in. It's part of what we're doing. So technology really drives the projects, hence student engagement.
So is there one thing that you can share with us that could inspire other educators to be able to not look at technology as an add-on?
I think once educators play with some of these Web 2.0 tools, like wikis or blogs, they could see how much more, accessible kids, can have to your classroom. I have a classroom blog that I have set up, and that's set up for French and Spanish, and I have resources and homework projects and games and things that people can access at home on that blog. But at the same time, we have French wikis where, like on a project in class, kids can go in and be the authors and creators of this wiki space or page. I think once you start using these tools and you see the motivation in your classroom because kids are excited, that's really the driving force. The other one I find really inspiring that I have used for a while is Flip Camera to iMovie. And that's when students are making videos, and so they're using the authentic language in an authentic environment, and at the same time they're using how to use Flip Camera and how to edit and use iMovie. That was great. Another project that we did this year was in a Spanish, 6th grade Spanish class. We created a movie of weather reports, and these were done on a green screen. So kids, after they filmed on a green screen, learned how to pull in the photos, the images, the technology to create a video. So they were the authors or the creators of this project, hence student engagement. They're using the language and they're integrating technology with it at the same time. And it was a great project. At the end, when we watched the video, all the projects were done on one DVD. Thank you. And with those, the kids loved watching it. It looked like a real professional product, and that instills a lot of pride, and it makes them want to do more projects like that. And I feel when kids are involved in project-based learning, it's not so much as a teacher, you're the coach bringing them to the next level. So your lessons are naturally differentiated. So
as we finish up today, what are your plans for staying on top of technology in your classroom?
Well, my plans are to keep learning. As I said, I learn things every day on Twitter that I would love to see in our building here. More professional, more of our educators on Twitter, and to be able to share news and information and professional development with staff on Twitter. And then the next step will be to get students' accounts and to teach students digital citizenship. As we've discussed in the past, we can't teach digital citizenship if we're banning the tools that students can access, these digital products with. So we need to teach them how to use them responsible. I'd like to see more QR codes being used in the classroom and teaching kids how to use those, because I had a lot of student engagement with those. because these are things that they have their tools, they can bring their own technology, but they see these things out in the world every single day, and we're teaching them how to use them responsibly. Like, for example, a great classroom project on Twitter is you can follow a famous person. So they could get online and follow somebody who's famous in the news and be able to follow that person and up to date and feel connected to what is going on. That's a great project for them to do. In my class, it would be great to have kids be able to tweet in French or Spanish and have other kids tweet back within the class, so they're having written and oral communication. And the next big thing about Twitter is getting kids to synthesize ideas into 140 characters. That takes some creative writing. So, for example, say they read a story, they'd have to synthesize what happened in that story in 140 characters and share them in a class hashtag on Twitter. It's challenging because they have to, do that writing and the thinking about the essence of what they're doing, but at the same time they love being on Twitter because it's the technology that they like.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Terrie. I really appreciate your willingness to share your heart.
Thank you.